Hello and welcome to Times Wellness, a Times of India initiative presents the secrets to healthy snacking powered by American pistachio growers. In large part due to the pandemic, lifestyles have become increasingly sedentary and snacking has become second nature. In fact, under many scenarios, snacking has become a meal substitute altogether. But amidst all this, very little credit is given to the power of healthy snacking, the merits of which are multifold. So to help us do a deeper dive on the subject and to help us separate fact from fiction, I'm joined by a very distinguished panel of domain experts. Please allow me to introduce them. We have with us nutrition consultant and advisor to Men's Health Magazine USA, Dr. Mike Roussel, leading nutritionist and founder of Meal Pyramid, Kinita Kadakia Patel, an India market representative for American pistachio growers, Sumit Sarang. Now, thank you so much for joining us. And Kinita, I'd love to kick off the conversation with you. If you could help us understand the science that's behind snacking, and more specifically, what are the trigger points and what are the signs of trouble here?
So there are many signs for snacking, right? As you rightly said when we started that unfortunately the whole pandemic has reached to the whole Netflix genre where we all are sitting post dinner and we are munching. And when we reach that state in the middle of the night, when the dinner is finished at 7:38 in the evening, I wouldn't doubt anyone feeling a little munchy in the like say at 11 or 12 in the night, but it's what you are going to try and grab at that time in the night. And it is human nature. If you're awake metabolically, you're going to be burning and turning some acids which are scientifically going to create a certain kind of hunger. If you're just going to try and kill it with water, it might work a day, a second day, a third day. But eventually, if you're going to keep the habit of staying up after the dinner for at least 6 to 7 hours, I guess just snacking is going to be a natural response of the body. And well, with many people who are athletes, and I work with a lot of athletes, they just metabolically need a lot of snacks in between because their body is demanding constant food for recovery. And if I don't give that kind of food, they're definitely going to get hampered with their muscle recovery. So yes, snacking is important in certain cases, and in some cases, it's just mindless. And in either ways, the snacking has to be a good option. It has to be healthy, whether mindless or important. And yeah, I think with the pandemic, in fact, I have done a lot of talks and I have given a lot of options for snacking. And, like I have just done talks where it's like, what can you snack through the day when you're sitting at home and working? What can you snack through the day when you're watching television in the night? What can you snack if your mind is constantly at work, but you are sedentary in one place? And trust me, pistachios for me is definitely on that list. So I'm going to allow the discussion to go on longer to give my opinion on why even I think pistachio is a great addition to have.
Well, that makes for a great segue to my next question, and that is to you, Dr. Roussel. Nuts have widely considered to be an extremely healthy snack, but only when consumed in moderation. How much truth is there to this statement, and help us really understand some of the underlying merits of nut consumption?
Yeah, so nuts are really one of the healthiest foods that you could have in your diet, and especially pistachios. So American pistachios provide this really unique combination of a variety of nutrients together. I always say that Mother Nature does better than we could ever do with any sort of supplement or vitamin because nature combines antioxidants, vitamins, minerals in these combinations that have great health benefits. And so there's a lot of really incredible research showing that American pistachios help improve heart health, can help control blood sugar, are a complete source of protein, which is also really important. And they have a unique blend of antioxidants that's not found in any other nut. And so, when we think of moderate pistachio consumption, it's 1 or 2 servings a day because it needs to be part of this entire blend of a healthy diet. Just like you don't want one food to overwhelm any sort of diet because you need this mixture of healthy foods together to really get a diet that's going to promote health and performance and recovery.
And Sumit, I take my next question to you. Now, Dr. Roussel has really set the context here, by honing in on the fact that the pistachio is high on potassium, it's high on protein, it's rich on fiber, rich on antioxidants, and it also happens to be a relatively low-calorie nut, comparatively speaking. But is this a fact that you believe has gone largely unnoticed, by the general public, both in India and beyond?
Well, I won't comment on the beyond, but on India for sure. I mean, pistachio is nothing new to Indians. We've been eating pistachio for generations, if not centuries. But pistachios has always been only used for garnishing. Mike would not be able to relate to it, but Kinita will know, you will know. We have our mithais, we have our sweet desserts, etc. It's always garnished with pistachios. Even things like biryanis and pulao we'll garnish with pistachios. But with all the goodness that Kinita and Dr. Roussel mentioned about, the whole endeavor is to get people aware about pistachio as a snack. That I think is a missing component in at least I can say for India. For a lot of Indians, snacking on pistachio is something that has been missing, and I think it's too good a nut for us to not know about.
Well, Kinita, my next question to you is really a build on what Sumit has said. And that is that, when it comes to healthy snacking, one of the most common complaints is that taste and nutritional value, they simply do not go hand in hand. That, our taste buds cannot be programmed to prefer healthier foods. So as your clients approach you with these concerns, what words of advice do you have to them, and where does the pistachio fit into this whole equation?
So, this is a definite misconception, because healthy can so be tasty. I guarantee you, okay? It can be so tasty. And when I have my clients and I'm discussing with them what are their healthy snacking options, it kind of, it takes a little time for everyone to adapt. First of all, the person has to be willing, right? So if I get a 5-year-old kid and I'm going to explain to him the benefits of nuts and dry fruits and how to add it in the diet, he might just say at the end of the day, just give me a packet of banana chips and I'm going to be okay. But it's a process you develop with an individual where you tell them, okay, let's try and switch on to this one for a bit. Let's try and keep accessible, healthy snacks around you. So for a fact, you're going to land up liking one of those. And where pistachios is concerned, I feel especially when you are either healthy or mindless snacking, it is one of those things that's, very enjoyable, right? So you're sitting with a packet of pistachios and you're making that effort to break up that nut and then to have and break it up. It's an exercise that you're doing with your food, and it kind of really involves you rather than just sitting with a bowl of ice cream and just chugging it down. So there is a little bit of involvement of yourself when you're opening up that nut and eating it. And that also, trust me, is very, very satiating and satisfying. It's like when you cook your own meals, you are much more satisfied with a lesser portion because you have actually cooked your own meal. Similarly, when you're working with your snacks, if you get involved with the process, you will see the satiety in it. And that is why giving a fun snack like pistachio, and I think pistachios are yummy, like mildly salted, just opening those kernels and sitting and munching. It's an extremely involving exercise and really very tasty and healthy at the same time.
Well, Dr. Roussel, the pistachio has often been described as a complete protein. So for the benefit of our viewers, what does that comprise? In layman language, what does it mean?
Sure. So proteins are made up of little building blocks. I like to think of, they're called amino acids. Think of them as beads on a necklace. And your body uses those amino acids, those beads, to make all kinds of things in our system. We often think of protein for muscle, like for muscle recovery, but also our immune function and our immune system relies heavily on protein. And so proteins are used everywhere in our bodies. And a complete protein means that it contains all these building blocks or all kind of these beads that our body needs to make the perfect necklace. because some of the beads our body can make and some of them it can't. And we need the ones it can't make, we get them from our diet. And what we know now, based on some more recent research, is that pistachios contain that full complement. So it gives your body everything it needs to make the proteins for muscle recovery, for healthy immune function, and optimal health. And the other thing to note about this is actually very rare amongst plants. So there are very few plant proteins. Generally, if someone wants to have a complete protein, it's going to need to be something from an animal product. And so with plant proteins, pistachios are very unique in that fashion, and are even more unique in the fact that they're the only complete plant protein that doesn't need to be cooked or prepared and is portable. So you can just take them with you and eat them. It requires no preparation or anything like that, or special storage, which other complete plant proteins do.
Well, Sumit, building on that, given that, the pistachio is a plant-based protein, and given that India has a sizable, significant vegetarian population, do plant-based proteins such as the pistachio enjoy greater consumer traction in our communities?
Yes, that's been our endeavor. It will be interesting for your viewers to note that India does not produce any pistachios. Pistachios for generations have been imported, and primarily have been imported from the Persian region, Iran, etc. And that pistachio is a slightly different variant of pistachio, which is mainly used for garnishing, like I said, and it's a sweeter variant. Pistachios from California that has now entered the market are much more designed for snacking. And Indians in general were not aware of pistachio as a protein or a source of protein. And in particular, they had no idea that they can snack with pistachios. So we, as a representative of American pistachio growers in India, our endeavor is to create awareness that a handful of pistachios has as much protein as an egg. And that's something huge for vegetarians. I'll let Kinita and Dr. Russell will be the right people to talk more about the protein and the scientific fact. But every time we do a campaign to create awareness, the response has been humongous. In just the last 2 years, the market has grown by about 60-65%. So India is really happening as far as plant-based protein and its demand is. And pistachio from California really fit in there.
Phenomenal. And the messaging clearly seems to be hitting home. So, Kinita, touching on some of the points made previously, a huge challenge, even for healthy snackers, continues to be portion control, right? Yeah. And the pistachio is, of course, unique in that you need to deshell the pistachio to consume it. And that then again becomes one more layer to the entire activity. So is this, a nut you recommend to your clients in the context of your diet consultation and meal plans that you carefully customize for them?
Yes, absolutely. Because I think, like he said, a handful of pistachio is equivalent to an egg. That is, you're almost looking at 45 to 50 kernels, am I right, of pistachio to give you 6 grams of protein. Yeah, so that's like a good quantity. That's like a good chunk of pistachios you are consuming. And however, when you're looking at something like almonds to get the protein, or if you're looking at any other nut to give you the protein, the amount required to consume is much lesser. So you see that the satiety is much higher because you're also getting a bigger portion. So while portion control is important where pistachios are concerned, there is a huge portion you can actually give. So that definitely gives it a thumbs up for snacking, because at the end of the day, when you're snacking, like I said, it's either mindful, it's usually if you're doing it as a post recovery, like he said, for athletes, then yes, you can quantify, you can tell them exactly the combinations. But when you're Netflixing and you're going to be consuming the pistachios, I guess you need a little bit more leeway in that bowl, and giving up to 50 pieces of a pistachio with the kernels intact is a good activity for at least 20-25 minutes to snack on that. So I think portion with pistachios to get my good 6 grams of vegan protein and a complete protein, I think it gets 100% thumbs up.
Dr. Russell, let's get more into the mathematics of it all. So, in your view, what is the ideal calorie intake of a healthy snack? And more importantly, with what sort of regularity, what sort of time intervals do you recommend between snacks, or perhaps even between a snack and a healthy, hearty meal? What is the time interval that works?
So that's a great question. Research shows us that when it comes to your protein intake, it's best to separate your meals by 4 to 6 hours. And then so you can put snacks basically in between those, anywhere between 2 to 3 hours in between meals. And then if you do that, it gives you a nice separation of whole meals and snacks, and also a nice flow of nutrients into your body. We know from research that was done here in the US that people that snack on pistachios at work report being less hungry and also more focused at work. So, people who sometimes will skip breakfast and then go to work, it actually can decrease productivity, and pistachios are a great snack that can help support that. So every 2 to 3 hours for a snack, and then every 4 to 6 hours for a meal.
All easier said than done, of course. But, Sumit, I'll come to you now. And that's because you very clearly mentioned to us, I think, to many of our viewers' surprise, that pistachios are not grown in India. In fact, pistachios, as you mentioned, the world over are primarily sourced from Iran and the United States. So, within the United States, I think it's California-grown pistachios that have really differentiated themselves in the marketplace. What are these differentiating factors, and how do they compare from a quality control spectrum and point of view?
California is known for its agriculture, the soil there, the climate there, and especially for agriculture, which is related to dry fruit and nuts. And pistachios from California are among the best in terms of food safety and quality. Meets every standards of US FDA, meets the standards of FSSAI in India. What makes them unique is, of course, the climate and the soil and the hardworking farmers in California. Again, something that the viewers might not know, but if you get a chance to see some of our videos on YouTube, or if you ever get a chance to visit farms in the US, maybe 50-60% of the growers are people of Indian origin. People who went back to California in mid-20s and 30s, and they're second and third generation. It's fascinating to see how they have adopted that country and how they're growing these phenomenal products. And so pistachio, the high quality of California-grown pistachios is by far the greatest in the world. Also, here in India, what we are seeing is that California for dry fruit, for other products, is already a very established source, be it almonds or walnuts. And pistachios just fit right in. And that's why we are seeing a lot of growth here.
Well, Kinita, there's no denying that. Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to add one thing. One thing that I think is also really unique about California pistachios, from a production standpoint, is that they never touch the ground. So when you think of like food safety and things like that, when a pistachio is harvested, if it touches the ground, it never then makes it into the food supply. So the quality control is so stringent that if a nut touches the ground, it's removed from the system. So you can really know that the things that you're getting have had a lot of care and in their growth, harvesting, and processing.
That's very heartening to hear, and very deeply reassuring, in fact, I think, for the general public. And speaking of the general public, Kinita, there is no denying that this is the junk food generation. It really is. So how can we encourage children to warm up to the idea of consuming pistachios and healthy snacking, and what impact do pistachios have overall on their everyday growth and development?
So I think firstly, it is very important to have these foods accessible, right? So the more they are accessible to a child's height and child's length, they are going to go and grab that easily. Second, it needs to even be easily consumed, in the sense, I'm not going to expect a 5-year-old to sit and crack the nut. But if you make it a fun activity, then they definitely might, because then the shells also make a great activity of art and craft, right? And I do that because I have a 6-year-old daughter, and I think it's a lot of fun to then create some craft out of the shells that she has broken out. So that's another thing that I would suggest for kids to do. And of course, see, it is also a lot of flavor, like you rightly said. If you kind of lightly saute it, you put a little bit of olive oil, you want to put some pepper, you want to put some salt, you want to, make it a little bit more fun, where even they are involved, and make some recipes that kids can enjoy out of pistachios. It can be a great snack that they can definitely get involved with. And where the junk generation is concerned, I think that is just a process, the mindset. I think it's the lifestyle that we all are living, where we are just working too much and have very less time in the kitchen to cook our own meals. And hence, if our major meals are also compromised, at least if our snacking is taken care of with the healthier options around us, it can really change the way you are looking at food and the kind of nutrition that you're putting in. Because see, at the end of the day, these are tough times. We are fighting a pandemic. We are working on our immunity. We want anti-inflammatories, antioxidants. We want to fight the free radicals in the body. You want to keep everything at peak. And really, that's not going to come from a fried patty in a burger. It's really not going to come from that. It's not going to come from French fries. It's not going to come from baked fries. It's only going to come from healthy food that is naturally grown. It's grown with care. Things like pistachios, nuts, a combination of mixed nuts, dried fruits, seeds, fruits, vegetables is where you boost that immunity. You're not going to get it from anything else. So if we grow the next generation, teaching them the importance of these things, I'm pretty sure it's a matter of a couple of decades where it's going to be easier for them to access these foods, which today are a bit of a challenge because people really don't know what healthy snacking means.
Well, Dr. Roussel, please, Sumit, go ahead.
I actually agree in the sense, I think it is harsh to call them a junk food generation. In fact, if anything, I think the young today are more aware. It's just that they're not aware of what the right sources are. But if you make them aware, I see a propensity towards healthier eating. And if anything, the pandemic is teaching not just the young, but young and old together, that you can have everything, but if you lose your health because of bad lifestyle, then there is no way forward. So I actually think it's more an awareness issue. I have a lot of hope from this generation.
Certainly seems to be more optimism than skepticism from your end. And, speaking of skepticism and switching gears a bit here, Dr. Roussel, as you may be aware, India is widely regarded as the coronary disease capital of the world, which is very unfortunate. So for patients with pre-existing conditions like diabetes or heart disease, for example, is the pistachio a healthy snack? I'd love your take.
Yeah, so if you have a cardiovascular disease, diabetes, you suffer kind of these chronic metabolic diseases, pistachios are an incredible healthful snack. So the research that I did originally to get my doctorate in nutrition was around cardiovascular disease and nutrition. And the lab that I was in did a lot of research on nuts, and we did some studies actually also on pistachios. And what the research shows with American pistachios is that if you include them in a meal, Sumit was saying that it's often used as a garnish, but if you include it in a meal, what that does is it helps control your blood sugar levels. So it will lower your blood sugar levels compared to if pistachios weren't included in that meal. And what we also know is that if you include pistachios as a snack in a heart-healthy diet, upwards of 3 ounces per day. So when we were talking earlier, like a serving is of 49 nuts. So we're talking about, 150 nuts almost, which is that's a lot of Netflix and snacking, right? If you're going to eat 150 nuts, that in itself can reduce your risk of cardiovascular disease. It helps lower cholesterol levels even more than if you just had 1 ounce or 1 serving per day. What's also interesting is that those antioxidants, the colors, so that red, purple, the yellow, the green that you see in those American pistachios are indicative of antioxidants. And those antioxidants actually help protect your LDL cholesterol, which is often called, in America at least, your bad cholesterol. And what happens is that bad cholesterol gets oxidized, it gets into your blood vessels, and that's kind of how heart disease starts. So these antioxidants in pistachios help prevent them from being oxidized. So it actually helps stop heart disease at its kind of root cause, is what the research is showing. So it's really interesting. It's a great, it's a great snack for children. I have 4 young kids. It's a great snack for them. But also if you have cardiovascular disease, you're concerned about diabetes or concerned about your heart health, pistachios are a great snack.
Well, I think the three of you have made your case, and the only question that's remained to be asked, and that's to you, Sumit, is if these pistachios aren't grown in India, and we've talked so much about American pistachios and California-grown pistachios in particular, how do I procure them here in the Indian subcontinent? Where are they available, and how do I get my hands on them?
Actually, it's now become quite easily available. You can log on to any e-commerce platform of your choice and just look for California pistachios, and you will get many number of brands who are selling these pistachios. This is the logo that is on the pack, so that you know that it's genuine and it's from California. These pistachios are also now available with all major dry fruit retailers across the country. And from an e-commerce point of view, there are now services in India that are delivering to as many as 92% PIN codes. So anywhere in the country, all you have to do is log on to your platform and just look for California pistachios. It should be easy.
Perfect. All right. Now, for our audience that may have lingering questions around healthy snacking or this protein powerhouse, the pistachio in particular, we thought we would open the floor for some question and answer. And I see that some questions have trickled in for our panelists. So I'll take our first question. And our first question comes to us from Saranya SV of Chennai. And she asks, for those on a strict diet, what quantity of daily pistachio intake is considered good for health? And can and should pistachios be soaked overnight? So perhaps, Kanita, we could pose that to you. Would you like to take a stab at that?
Sure. First of all, I think, Doc Mike, 4 kids is a lot of kernels to do art and craft with. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
It's a lot of painting.
Moving forward. Well, pistachios can definitely be added if you are on any kind of a strict diet. The quantity would, of course, depend if we do a basic calculation with the rest of the plan. So I cannot just say in a generic fashion that sit with 45 pieces or 49 kernels in general and just keep on munching. But yes, an average, say anywhere between 15 to 20 pieces of pistachios can definitely be managed in a diet at least once a day. Over and above that, then you have to see the activity level, the expenditure, the basal metabolic rate, and the energy requirement of the individual. Do you need to soak the pistachios? No, I definitely don't think you need to soak the pistachios because it's in a kernel. When you open the kernel, you can just pop the pistachio. So there is no need to deskin it. There is no need to soak it. It's just a quick snack.
All right. Fair enough. And Saranya, I hope that answers your question. Please, sir.
If I can just add for Saranya is that from a calorific value, pistachios, and especially American-grown pistachios, are among the lowest calorie nuts. So for just 160 calories, you get 49 pistachios, which is a serving. For the same amount of calories, you will be able to eat maybe 17 cashews. That's how wide the difference is in terms. That's why in some of the, not in India, but in some of the other markets, they call it the skinny nut. So especially for people who are watching their weights, etc., this nut with 160 calories, you get a lot of nuts.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to our second question. And that comes to us from Sanket Bhatkar of Mumbai. And he asks, while working from home, what changes should we implement in our snacking habits? Dr. Roussel, perhaps I could pose that one to you.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I've worked from home for over 10 years, so I've had to do a lot of snack regulation. I think the couple things that you need to do is I always try to make sure that I only have healthy snacks accessible. So if there are other snacks that we have in the house, those are put in a separate cupboard that are harder to get, that aren't near where the workspace is, because part of it is just ease of use. The second thing is set some times or some regulations to yourself, because it would be so easy to just sit and snack nonstop. But if you were at work in an office, you're not going to be able to necessarily eat continuously for 8 hours, right? So kind of set those parameters where, hey, at 10 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to have a snack, or at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll have a cup of coffee and a snack. So if you can set those time guidelines too, that helps. And actually, nutritionally, it's better that way. You don't want to have this nonstop flow of nutrients and calories into your body, that your body needs periods of not having food and then having food and allowing it to digest and use that food. So keep the healthy snacks accessible, keep the less healthy snacks somewhere further away, and then set time parameters for when you're going to snack and when you're not going to snack. And that's really going to get you far when it comes to working from home.
Very helpful. And thank you for that question, Sanket. Our next question comes to us from Renu in Ahmedabad. And she says her 16-year-old daughter wishes to lose weight. She suffers from obesity, and she also has vitamin D deficiency. So can and should she consume pistachios? And what other add-on foods or snack items might you suggest? So Kanita, if I could take this back to you, please, to address the Renu's query.
Yeah. So there seems to be no reason why she cannot snack on pistachios as one of the healthy snacks as a part of her diet. Like Sumit rightly said, that it's a very low calorie of snack that can be added. And over and above that, if you're looking at other healthy snacks, nuts, seeds in general are a complete food. Pistachios gives us the right amount of amino acid and hence a good complete protein. So that's almost 6 grams of protein in a good handful, which is extremely satiating. And if she manages to spread, say, like 49 kernels, that's like one serving through the day, that itself is going to be extremely satiating. Over and above that, to snack, like he rightly said, Microcell, that try and keep your major meals 4 to 6 hours apart, and then keep these snackings in between, but time these snackings. So you really don't need to go on extremely low calorie diet if your snacks are healthy, like carrot sticks, cucumber sticks, some other nuts can be added as well. And some more high protein foods can be added if you can, if you're a vegan, whether you're having, you want to add some soy milk. If you're not a vegan, you want to add some paneer, you can add some yogurt. If you're a non-vegetarian, you can add some eggs. You can add those things as snacks as well in the day.
Okay, lovely. I think that's a very comprehensive overview. Our next question comes to us from Khushbu Nahata of Bengaluru. And she asks, when it comes to kids, what makes for a healthy snack or junk food substitute that can help conquer their cravings? I pose this to the entire panel. I believe you all have children and some personal and professional experience here. So I welcome everyone's thoughts.
I think the one with the focus.
All right, perhaps Sumit, we can start with you, and then we'll make our way around.
No. As American pistachio grower representative, my thought is very simple. Just go for California grown pistachios. As simple.
Is that Dr. Roussel?
One of the things that we found works really well for our kids is having the healthy snacks accessible. So one of the things about junk food snacks is that they're easy to keep around and they're generally, easy to grab and eat. So when our kids are hungry, we always make sure that we have healthy snacks. So before dinner is actually a great time, and research shows that if you give children cut up vegetables, just the opportunity, like have them on the plate before dinner, their vegetable consumption overall increases. So a really great strategy for us is we're always going to have, say, pistachios on the counter. 3, 4 o'clock comes around and we're going to have cut up peppers and carrots and cucumbers along with those pistachios. So when they come in and they're looking for food, those healthy snacks are there and accessible. Part of it is just access. Like kids eat chips all the time because chips are just around. And so making those healthy snacks the preferred snack and the available snack is really key. And I think the other thing is that to know it's not going to happen overnight. Like junk food is good and delicious because it was engineered to be that way. So to try to convince your kids that it's not good is not going to work because it is. But just showing them that, look, there are other options, and there's a right and a wrong place to eat certain foods, and helping them, teach why they want to make that decision. Like, for example, the girl who's 16 who wants to lose some weight, I've always found that helping focus on the foods that you should eat is a lot easier than telling people all the things they shouldn't do. Because people generally know, like kids and adults, know the things that they shouldn't do. But they're like, what do I do instead? And so the key to healthy snacking with kids is the same with adults, is making sure you show them, like, look, these are the good foods. Like these pistachios, these are great for you. You get less calories and more nuts than any other nut. These fruits and vegetables are great. They are naturally sweet. And your body's going to just over time evolve to appreciate the natural sweetness. It just is going to take time to wean off the junk food sweetness.
Kanita, what's your take?
My take is also an addition is education. Creating awareness is, of course, key, but also just all the time telling them the benefits of every food that they are consuming really, really helps. And my 6-year-old daughter speaks my language. If you hear her, you'll be like, okay, she knows a lot about food. She knows a lot about nutrition. And she would just go and tell my mom, oh, you're not allowed chai. You can't have tea. Shift to green tea. And this is just probably she's overheard me speaking like this to somebody. And you know what? They really get it. They understand. They are like a sponge. They absorb what you're speaking and they give it a very, very informative thought. And what works is when you just tell them, don't eat the chips, eat this. It doesn't work. I suggest substitute your chips with this because kids always understand the language of logic. If you don't give them logic, they're just going to sit there and be like, why? I want to eat chips. Like, I don't see the logic of eating a healthy nut. I don't see the logic of opening and making the effort of eating a pistachio. But when you give an answer, they are much more, they grasp your understanding much better. And involving them in the process, like I said, I have made a lot of fruit lollies with her. I have made pistachio ice cream with her. I have made smoothies, vegan smoothies, in which I've added seeds, nuts, pistachios, and explained to her why I'm using some concoctions. And she gets it, So I don't think it's difficult. It's definitely challenging to go through them. But if you want to work through a kid, I always suggest reason it out with them. Because if you're just going to be a parent and an adult and say, don't do this, do this, it doesn't work with kids these days, at least not this generation.
Spoken from personal experience, and we relate. So our fifth and final question is from Soni Haren Shah of Mumbai. And she asks, any ideas on easy, healthy snacking options for evenings specifically? And she also wants to know, what interesting snacks can we concoct specifically from pistachios? Who would like to take a stab at that?
Whoever you want.
Okay, so Dr. Russell, I'd love to start with you. So snacks specifically for evenings.
Yeah. So pistachios are a great snack in the evening. Earlier we were talking about, can you snack after dinner and what should that look like? Because their ability to control blood sugar levels, when you consume them is great. New research actually shows that pistachios do contain some melatonin, which is a compound that's released by your brain to help your body know it's time to go to sleep. So that's like an additional, interesting piece about pistachios and sleep. I think the other thing goes back to the idea that it's a very low calorie nut. We were talking about earlier. It's something that you can slowly enjoy. You crack the nuts and you can eat them over time. It's not a rushed snack. It's a relaxing snack. It's a mindful snack. And I think that kind of activity is really important for later at night. So I think pistachios are a great snack. From what kind of snacks do you concoct? I'm a very just pistachio plain kind of snacker, but in the mornings I'll oftentimes mix it with yogurt. Yogurt and some berries is going to be my other go-to if generally how I'm going to have pistachios with something else. Or pistachio ice cream, but I try not to do that as much.
But
Great.
ice cream
Yes,
does
please,
taste
Kanita.
very Yeah, it does taste very nice. Pistachio ice cream, which I have tried, pistachio with a little bit of avocado and some sea salt, and churn it up, put it in a lolly, and it comes out pretty tasty, you know. So pistachio ice cream in the kind of temperatures that we all are fighting can be a great evening snack, I feel. Also, like I said, smoothies work very, very well with pistachio because they are extremely satiating. If you're going to put in some kind of a base, like an almond milk base or use a yogurt base, and also it can even go very well with like making like a nut butter, like a pistachio butter is also very tasty. It can go with a nice slice of sourdough. Gives you your 6 grams of protein as well, and gives you that good satiating feeling that you want in the evening. You don't want to eat something very big where the dinner is affected, and you don't want to eat something very small where you're not happy. So I think somewhere in the middle, this snack in these different recipes can really do the trick.
Phenomenal. And thank you for those custom recipes that you've imparted. And, what I also want to mention is that, as a part of this special feature, the Times of India did conduct a social media trivia contest because we wanted to test our viewers' knowledge of this protein powerhouse, the pistachio. And I'd like to take the opportunity to reveal the names of our 3 lucky winners, all of whom shall receive gift hampers from American Pistachio Growers. Our winners are Shilpa Shekhawat, Subrita Chakrabarti, and Priyanshu Mishra. So we will reach out to the 3 of you separately to send you your prize, but we thank you once again for your participation, and congrats, of course, to our lucky winners. So with that, I'd like to give the floor back to my panelists for some parting thoughts. So if someone was perhaps earlier on the fence or unconvinced that they could make the switch to healthy snacking, or perhaps not fully sold on the pistachio, and they're of 2 minds at the moment, having watched this program and having sort of walked away with some of the takeaways you've shared, how would you guide them and nudge them with respect to taking the next step? And Kanita, I'll start with you.
I definitely think educate yourself, read a bit, hear talk shows like these, because we are here to create that awareness for you all, at the same time give you all the idea and help you make that healthy switch. So if you still do have any doubts, please feel free to reach out to any one of us and shoot out your questions. But I definitely think creating a general awareness by understanding what food quality is, what food quantifications are, what nutrition value of foods are, is going to give you a lot of in-depth understanding on what you are putting yourself through and how your body responds to these kind of foods. So go ahead and read about it, but I think you should be convinced with the 3 of us around that pistachios for sure is a fab snack to add in your diet.
Dr. Russell, I'll give you the floor, your last comments, your parting words.
So I would say that give yourself a chance to try American pistachios as a snack. So for 2 weeks, take a snack food that you would normally eat and replace that with a handful, a generous handful of pistachios, and do that for 2 weeks straight and see how you feel. Because if you're replacing traditional snack foods with something like American pistachios, you're going to feel better, from an energy perspective, from a just digestive overall health perspective. It's just going to be a better switch. And then I think after watching and listening to everything we've been talking about, if you're not convinced about to give American pistachios a chance, I would offer you 2 other facts that we didn't really talk about. One was there was a study done in France showing that when people added more than 1 serving of pistachios to their diet every day, that it led to no weight gain. So the addition of American pistachios to a diet did not lead to any sort of weight gain. And the other thing is that the fiber that's found in American pistachios supports healthy immune function. So there's research showing that it enhances this bacteria in your digestive system that actually stimulates your immune system. So there's a lot of things within pistachios that help support good immune health, which is really something that's that's been top of mind for everyone for the last 18 months or so. So do the pistachio snack challenge, and know that it is also helping your immune function.
Absolutely. And Sumit, I'll give you the last word.
Well, while I represent American pistachio growers in India, our work revolves around working with experts like Dr. Mike Russell or Kinita, people with such pedigree. When they talk, people listen, and everything or every word that has been said on this program is based on hardcore research. I mean, there is nothing which is being said which is just because it comes from us or we feel about it. So I'll give you two things. www.americanpistachios.in is the website. There is a whole section of nutrition research. So if you're looking at any of these facts and to want to check the detailed research, it's available. For the recipes and people who are looking at ideas, do follow us on our social media handles. It's called americanpistachios.india. There are plenty of recipes and plenty of nutrition tips there. Look forward to you joining us there.
All right. Well, I think that makes for a wonderful note upon which to close. And I have to thank all of our panelists for sharing such a rich range of anecdotes from their personal and their professional journeys, really. So with that, our special feature, Times Wellness, a Times of India initiative, presents The Secrets to Healthy Snacking, powered by American Pistachio Growers, comes to a close. Thanks for watching.